Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. Today, the magic number is 4. That's right, we are on day 4 of 4 at the Season 8 final stop here in Cologne. 4 is the magic number because we have 4 weeks to go until we get to Katowice for the World Championships finals at the Spodek Arena. The road to that final started all the way back in Shanghai. We've gone through Sao Paulo, we've gone through Singapore, and we've gone through New York. Let's show you those previous winners because they've all qualified for the Katowice World Finals along with their runners-up. Hero in there, of course, with that historic back-to-back victory in Singapore and Sao Paulo, and before that, Life and Revival going through. We've also had some qualifiers through North America, through Korea, and through Europe. 3 players have gone through from there, and we have 2 invitees, the DreamHack champion Tasia and the WCS last year, 2013 World Champion SOS. There are 2 spots up for grabs today. Only 1 of the 8 players left in the quarterfinals has already qualified, so 7 of those players really battling for not only the $10,000 first prize here, and not only a title, of course, but also to play in the World Championships. Those 8 players, have gone through from a very tricky round of 16. Let's show you how fight through groups A, B, C, and D. Rain and Hero through Group A, dumping out for GG and Hyun. Group B, we lost Deer in that one as Patience and Jack G went through. And in Group C, Polt and Jaedong yesterday fighting their way into the quarterfinals. And last but not least, Innovation and Classic are your final 8 players. They are going to be fighting out in a single elimination, quarterfinals through to the semis and the grand final. We're going to play them all today, which is why we've got the tie on, because it's finals day, ladies and gents. And suitably suited and booted alongside me are Todd and Rhett. Good morning, good afternoon. How you doing?
Doing great, really excited for today's games. As always, lots of Protoss action, but yes, funnily enough, no PvP to open the day with.
No, that's a bit of a shock. We managed to make all of the Protoss players avoid each other in the draw yesterday. Let's show you that draw. The quarterfinals looks like this. Polt versus Classic will kick things off this afternoon. Rain versus Jack G, Patience versus Jaedong, and Innovation versus Hero. We'll talk about Polt and Classic in a minute, but let's start with Jack G and Rain. Rain looked in formidable form 2 days ago. Jack G struggled a little bit to get through his group, but no real major issues. He is the only one of the 8, though, that's already qualified for Katowice. So does that give him less worries? Can he just play a bit more freely and not have to worry? Or do you think it doesn't really matter, Rain's just that strong?
I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter. You're always going to want to win tournaments as a player. That's kind of why you take the job. So I don't think it's going to matter much. I do think that Rain is the absolute favorite going into this bracket, so he's got a lot to prove. And Jakji, he's going to have to pull out something special to beat Rain.
Okay, thoughts?
The thing is, he's going to have a lot less pressure, obviously, because he's already qualified for Katowice. The other players, they all want to make it, obviously, and reaching that top 2 is going to be so hard. They need to win 2 matches. So maybe a little bit less pressure, which basically can mean he could play a lot better from this, depending on his state of mind and all that. But I have to say, Rain, probably the toughest draw for anybody in these quarterfinals. So. Okay,
and he's avoided his teammate Classic, of course, which is nice, but they'll meet in the semi-finals if they both win, so not necessarily a good thing. Let's move on to Jaedong versus Patience. And Patience looked in good form, won his group, seemed pretty straightforward to him, but he struggled a little bit against QXC in the first match, showed that maybe he has some wounds that can be reopened by these players, and he goes up against Jaedong, who also struggled yesterday. He said on Twitter, actually, he had a very poor day and he didn't think he played very well, but that's the sign of a champion, though, Rhett, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Jaedong is never happy unless he plays the absolute best out of any Zerg in the world, so he's got very high standards. I think Patience showed amazing PvZ play on the first day, so I'm not sure it matters much that he had trouble against players like QXC, because his PvZ seems to be by far his best matchup. And Jaedong had a bit of trouble with players like Stardust and Mana, who some might consider to be weaker Protoss players than Patience. So it's going to be a close one.
Okay, our final quarterfinal is Innovation versus Hero, which is a bit of an old rivalry starting up, actually. Team Acer versus Team Liquid. We've seen quite a bit of that action in the last 12 months. Innovation looked fairly comfortable yesterday, it has to be said, in his group. Hero, on the other hand, not quite so comfortable, but it doesn't really matter now we've got to the quarterfinals, does it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I have to say I'm very impressed with Innovation's display of skill so far in this tournament. But Hero has shown a lot of good things versus Tian recently. He's been one of the most impressive Protosses in the world versus Tian these days. And even though there has been a lot of Protosses impressive versus Tian, he's one of those that has impressed me the most. So going into this match, I'm pretty sure both players, they're going to forget about everything else and go into it with their mindset on Katowice. And even though Innovation was more impressive than Hero, I would actually give a slight edge to Hero in this matchup.
Okay.
And this is the matchup I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, me too. I am looking forward to this one. We're going to kick things off with Classic versus Polt. One of my personal favourite Terrans to watch, Polt. He's always exciting to watch, Captain America. But he goes up against a very class act. And there was a pun, but he is a class act from SKT. Been great in Pro League, but it's such a bubble, isn't it? Pro League, you're kind of in there, and it's a very different kind of atmosphere. It's best of one, and it's team based, and it's very different from a best of 5 in a quarterfinal at a major international tournament.
Yeah, Classic for sure has all the tools available to him, but going up against Polt, he's way less experienced than Polt. And it's kind of two different storylines. Polt, the old champion, trying to make a comeback and look really strong again in the new year, and then Classic, just the unknown Korean guy. And I don't know who's going to win that one.
Oh, that's a good answer, because I was actually going to ask you that question next. Classic or Polt, Todd? Put it on the line for us.
You always make this so difficult because I'm going back and forth in my head. I'm going to say Polt.
Okay. Have you settled on one, or are you just too hard to call?
I'll go with Classic.
Okay. We've got rivalry here at the analysis desk as well as in the arena. It's time for game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Our quarterfinals kick off with an absolute stonking match. It's Classic versus Polt, and this is Kalaris and Apollo.
Thanks very much, guys. Welcome to the caster's desk for day number 4 here at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. We get ready for the first quarterfinal, Polt versus Classic. And oh boy, am I looking forward to especially to see how Polt's going to be able to deal with our SKT player.
Yeah, that's right. The entire of the top 8, as Red Eye was just going through, is absolutely fantastic. This is the most stacked tournament that the Intel Extreme Masters has ever seen. And today we will have a champion. We'll have maybe 2 new players to go to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship to fight for the $100,000 winner-takes-all tournament. It's just going to be a great day of games from the get-go.
Yeah, it certainly is, and what a way to open it up. I mean, we saw Polt during the last day or so do so well against Protoss, having to dispatch of 2 of them, did in quick fashion, 2-0, 2-0, not quite as quick against Stardust, but in the end, the power that Polt brings is his multitasking, his mobility, his absolute fantastic execution of always drawing that Protoss thin. And if I was in Classic's shoes going up against Polt, I would say Polt has some of the best TVP in the world right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. He's really on form. Just for you guys to note, this is going to be a best of 5 from this point. So instead of the 2 vetoes, which it was throughout the entire of the tournament so far, it's just a single eat. So Polt's most difficult map, apparently, in Terran vs. Protoss for him is Daedalus Point. So that is gone. He doesn't need to play on it. And Classic is going to remove maybe Polar Knight there.
Okay.
So then here we have the map order now from 1 to 5.
Yeah, I can kind of understand Polt removing Daedalus Point. It can be a bit annoying to deal with those blink plays, etc. But still, Polt opening up with those 3 barracks plays, it always seems very stable in those earlier stages and then putting on pressure. So Heavy Rain will be our first map here, chosen by Polt.
Yeah, that's a great first map here. Polt's very good at scouting, and he's not afraid to play against aggressive Protoss players, which this map can lead towards. Yeah. But he's also saying, I think to all of us here, that I'm not really afraid of your aggressive plays, and I would like to get into the mid stages of this game because that's where Terran's a lot stronger. I'd favor Protoss in the earlier stages because of the ability and mobility of the map, but here, the later the game goes on, the better it is for Polt. So a strong, confident pick there, number 1.
And I'm curious to see going into this series how Classic is going to deal with a player like Polt who, when that Photon Overcharge is activated, he doesn't shy away. He doesn't run away. He's like, oh no, Photon Overcharge, I better run off. He sticks around and he gets damage done. And it's very rare that you actually see Terrans do this. So it really does throw a spanner in the works there for Classic, and he's going to have to be very wary of it.
That's right, and this is the first game of the day. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
This is, of course, classic for a lot of you who don't really follow the niche, this little small Korean scene, and follow the European and North American scenes more. This guy is definitely one of the better Protoss players in Korea at the moment. Originally a Brood War professional, formerly of Istro, the same team that Idra and Artosis were very, very close with. Later on into STX Seoul, and he maintained just shy of 50% win rate in Pro League. That's pretty impressive in Brood War. And of course, that translated well into his StarCraft 2 career. He's been doing really well. But this is Polt. This is everybody's favorite American Terran, having performed internationally for so long. He speaks English. Of course, is still Korean, but has been adopted by the American audience. This is going to be a good one. Polt, by the way, in his last 9 games against Protoss players, has won every single one. Has not lost a series against a Protoss player in 2014 as we get deeper and deeper into this year. His last loss was actually at DreamHack Winter against Patience, but he's had a massive record so far. But on the other side of things, Classic, he also hasn't lost versus a Terran yet this year. He hasn't played as many games as Polt has. But he's undefeated. He's played Ryung. He's played Gumiho. He's played Hero Marine as well in this tournament. So, I mean, both of these players great against their respective race.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about all of this is that, unfortunately for Classic, you know, despite not having lost against the Terrans here, he kind of got a little bit unlucky. I feel that Classic's full potential and power comes in his PvZ, but he hasn't had to deal with any Zergs just yet. So he hasn't really, in my opinion, got to show off his best matchup, despite being good across all the matchups.
Yeah, and everyone knowing Polt so well, we can kind of, you know, we've known he's won a lot of tournaments. We can estimate he's won a lot of money. He's actually the 4th highest earning StarCraft 2 player, earning himself over $250,000 playing StarCraft 2. Claris, have a guess how much Classics actually won in prize earnings.
I'm going to say sub $1,000.
$377 bucks to his name. A massive difference in scale here when it comes to just the 2 statues in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, Polt has always looked very strong, and as we mentioned before, you've just brought up the stats of him not losing against the Protoss in 2014 yet, and that 3 racks, man, he is Captain America. The shield is that 3 barracks that holds off the power of Protoss currently, and it works so beautifully. Polt is really leading the way, but the cool thing about what we saw yesterday is not only that Polt was holding Protoss off with this 3 barracks play, but also we had another Terran in Innovation also doing it in an entirely different way. So there are still so many opportunities here for Terrans to play formidably against Protoss as long as they're able to keep on going.
Yeah, definitely. You know, think anything is possible in this series between these 2 players, especially in a best of 5. And I know this is going to be a good start to the day. I completely believe that. And we're about ready to get into this first map, Heavy Rain.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Best of 5. One of these players will move on to the semi-final to challenge for championship position here at the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. And then when you're in that semi-final spot, you are only 1 game away from gaining that spot at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. The prize pool goes up, the WCS points go up, and from here, they're all guaranteed $1,000 right now, but it starts ramping up quite considerably.
250 WCS points has been awarded to everybody in the top 8, and that increases as well for their WCS season.
All right, well, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran. Representing CM Storm, it's Polt. And down to the bottom right, we have our blue Protoss. Representing SK Telecom T1, it's Classic.
Both players qualifying into the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne here. Each stop has had 3 different qualifiers, Europe, North America, and Korea. And Polt went through the North American one, of course, living in America. And the difference of players that they've gone through to actually qualify for this tournament is so big, Claris.
Yeah, it is.
You know, Polt went through Illusion, Suppy, and QXC. Classic went through Squirtle, Deer, Parting, CJ Hero, who's a 2-time Intel Extreme Masters champion, Jaedong, Curious, and SOS, just to qualify for the tournament.
It's like the best of Korea stood in Classic's way, and Classic said, "No, actually, I'm just gonna go to Cologne."
Classic this is his debut tournament, though, internationally, bear in mind. So we've seen a lot of Koreans in the past who have traveled abroad, attempted to play in an international tournament and haven't done well the first time that they traveled abroad. Maybe that's going to, affect his performance a little bit to what we're used to seeing when he's played in Pro League, being an SK Telecom Protoss here.
You're right, and you're completely right. And we've had that more so not in Intel Extreme Masters than anything. At the very beginning, we had Zest, who powered through a qualifier, turned up, bombed out. Then we had Myunzik, power through a qualifier, turn up, and then bomb out. But Classics is taking that further step here than those two, his predecessors.
Yeah, and Polt's just a veteran overall. He's been one of the most consistent Terran players from the beginning of time. A Code S regular in Korea. In 2011, he picked up his first tournament victory in the GSL Super Tournament. 2012, he was a jet setter, a globetrotter, traveling the world, winning tournaments in Europe and America. 2013 was less travel, but more consistent focus on the WCS. And in 2014, Polt just continues to look great so far in this tournament. And both builds, by the way, we have a double gas opening here from Classic. Only 2 probes in each simulator, so not the highest amount of gas being brought in. Compared to Polt here, Reaper expand into reactor. And then with this expansion, and he is looking around here. Remember the focus point of picking this map earlier on that Polt did? He's saying to us that he's confident against any early aggression that Classic can do, and is looking to really turn up the heat when it comes to the mid part of this game.
Polt comes in, has a look around, sees that the wall has been constructed on this left-hand side for Classic, so the Reaper's going to have a bit of a harder time traversing and moving around that base, whilst that Mothership Core does shoo him away. So he's going to be looking for the natural timing eventually with the Reaper, but more importantly, he needs to make sure that no crazy proxies are going on first.
Yeah, it needs to find, if there was a Stargate or Twilight Council, some form of tech that could have been hidden around anywhere. Classic would have had time to prepare for some certain builds overnight, I'm sure, but Polt is just making sure that that's not the case. So far, he's found nothing, and eventually he's going to go down to the main base of his opponent, look at the Nexus timing, realize that it hasn't been rushed down, a tech structure that is, and then try to get inside the main base, and here we go, and he sees the Nexus, realizing that it hasn't been rushed down, and now, can he get the scouts? Oh, he's looking, Stalker pushes him away.
And behind this, for Polt, it's El Clasico. It's double barracks play. Noticeably, those 2 barracks are at the very, very back of this mineral line. So when he throws down a tech lab, that stim research is going to be very, very well defended against any kind of blink play that would come along. So even though he hasn't seen the Twilight Council just yet, he's preparing for it in spades.
And remember, Classic doesn't really know if it's factory or barracks focus play, which requires different responses, really, because it could be Widow Mines, which need detection. It could be barracks, which doesn't. So that's what he was looking for with the Mothership Core, but wasn't able to find anything here. But likewise is Polt, still without the information of the Twilight Council being here, and it is Blink. Here's the extra gateways.
This is, he's going to have to stiff this out. He really is. He's doing a good job of zoning out the Marines. Zoning out the Mothership Core with the Marines, though. But the Mothership Core pokes in and still doesn't get to see it, despite that huge, huge range and the ability to see those Marines and where they are when he's trying to pop in.
He saw a second gas. He saw the lack of second gas, so he knows that. There are some builds that actually go up to Banshee pretty fast, but he sees that second gas isn't there, so he still knows that it's not something that's immediately threatening to him. But whatever the case, he's still going to go for this. A total of 3 gateways. Blink not too far away. Polt's still looking for something. And he's going to jump in the main here.
He'll get intel. He will get intel. He'll see what's going on.
He sees it all. And now it's time to prepare the bunkers.
Batten down the hatches, Polt, because aggression is on in the way. We have a pylon up to the north for Classic to reinforce pretty quickly. And he sees plenty of Stalkers with that Reaper as well. Full confirmation of what's going on. The pylon's on the edge, but Polt is looking for it. He moves out with this bio army. He's got to be careful.
He's going to find the probe and Stalkers.
And they're actually going to get assaulted before Blink finishes, so Classic doesn't want to overextend at this point.
Polt's got to be so careful here. A Time Warp and an aggressive Blink play here. Another Stalker gets warped in. Polt's going to chase it down, but he's got to be careful.
And if the Stalkers actually bring down that Marauder first, if they focus on that, then soft Marines against Blink Stalkers can be a hard thing to do without Stim, so he has to be very careful, you're right.
There you go.
There's that Time Warp. Is he going to be able to get on top of that Marauder? He's just picking up the Marines for now. He's not actually focus firing on that Marauder, which is dishing out a lot of damage, but it doesn't really matter because the Blink control is too much for those Marines to deal with. And he will bring down that Marauder in there, and Polt overextends and loses a lot there.
Yeah, just for picking off a close pylon and a Stalker here. And does he have enough to keep up with this? It doesn't look like Classic's going to dedicate too much to it, though. He is already chrono boosting into the Nexus and adding on a gas back at home.
I do like that from him.
But for now, it's definitely not over yet, and especially towards the right-hand side of Polt's main base, it's weak. But no detection right now. He can't see up there, so the focus is only going to be on the front wall, which is easier for Polt.
Yeah, the mothership core is very, very far away, so it's hard for him to really get any super mobility going on a map like Heavy Rain, which can be easy to actually start blinking around in the mothership core. It's getting over there eventually.
Time to jump in the main base as soon as you can here.
Yeah. Bring that bunker
Polt's
down.
stim is ready though, so if he jumps up there, there's 4 Marauders. They're going to deal a lot of damage if he does just blink up there.
They certainly are. He did buy time for that in that stim, so now he will blink up. Tries to bring down that bunker that didn't even have anything in there, so no resistance at all. And it's time for the stim up. He has to bring some SCVs
Blink's
well
ready
with this.
though. Blink's ready.
Yeah, defensive blink is going to keep him well and truly defended, but he tries to bring down that mothership core, doesn't get it. That was an important attempt there by Polt.
The starport, where are we going?
Whoa.
Get back on that reactor.
Yeah, he does need that over there. Factory also looking to just keep an eye on his opponent's movement on the outside. Very important. And it's actually going to start burning down if he's not careful.
And Classic's just adding on more gateways, Claris. He's getting +1 armor. He's adding on 3 more gateways.
I really don't think that factory should have gone. He moved that over just a little bit too far. This is a lot that Classic's adding on, though. You're right.
And he's going to have +1 armor, too.
Yeah. This is going to be scary. Polt now is facing a bit of a hard time. Now focusing down those Marauders. Good focus fire as well as the blink up just in general. The SCVs come off the line again as Polt knows he's in quite a bit of trouble. Also, notice he's keeping that mothership core alive and away from those Marines as much as possible. Defensive blink onto the low ground and army supplies now. They are technically quite even, 34-26, but Classic's always taking that lead, doing a lot of damage in terms of the resources lost to Polt.
+1's armor's done. He can go in again. This is fine. Polt's weak. He's only got, what, 4 Marines and a couple of Marauders here. He needs to evacuate his bunkers and bring the units up from there, but I don't think he's realized at this point. And he's starting to die here.
Cuts off the production, killing off that reactor. The SCVs once again moving into the fight, but the Stalkers just don't really die too quickly, unfortunately, for Polt, as now the supply way in favor of Classic here. Armies, the 20 actually to 25, technically in favor of Polt, but some of that is in medevacs that aren't really doing a whole lot now. And they're just going to have to sit around and wait.
Yeah, Polt has units in the bunkers he's just not using. They were definitely needed in this fight. And as you can see now, he's just starting to die off. He's lost so many SCVs. And as much as Polt wanted to start up on this map, I think it was his choice to play this one. It's over.
GG. GG. Classic takes the 1-0 lead. And I have a theory, Sean.
What's the theory?
The theory is Polt got rid of Daedalus Point, which is a great map for Blink. He then picks Heavy Rain because he also knows this is a great map for Blink and he wants to get it out of the way as quickly as possible.
Could be his reasoning, yeah. Could be.
We'll have to ask him afterwards.
Yeah, could be.
So, now Polt. I think he always knew that map was going to be difficult after what we're kind of reasoning here. So going on to the next few maps, maybe he'll feel a little bit more comfortable, but there are still opportunities to get aggressive for Protoss.
Yeah. Well, Polt used the same style that he used yesterday against Blink players, where he moves out, catches the probe and pile on early and maybe a couple of Stalkers, but you have to be so careful when you do that. I pointed it out in the analysis, is that if you do that and the Protoss player knows you're doing that, then it's very easy just to use a Time Warp earlier on and just take the fight out in the open.
Yeah.
You use Time Warp, you get the Stalkers there, and you can already just instantly kill off quite a few Terran units. And then from that point, he's even more on the back foot.
Well, now Classic takes that 1-0 lead, and to be fair, you know, a lot of... I was at least thinking that Polt was going to do very well in this series. It's certainly not over yet. There's still quite a lot of maps to go on. I feel that Polt can make the comeback. During the entire start of the tournament, I was a Classic believer, and he takes that 1-0 lead, so I'm personally happy whoever advances, man. These guys, they're so good, and it's going to be great to see either of them in the semi-final.
It's going to be difficult to break this guy there. He's so solid and just doesn't really have many weaknesses, Classic.
Yeah.
He's only lost, really, against MC, and that series was as close as it could have been anyway in the first game that they played in the group stages yesterday. Overall, Classic is looking really, really good here.
All right, well, the second map will be Frost as we get into this, and technically there is opportunity to go for Blink play again, but I think 2 times in a row would be a bit, I'm going to go with Dicey for this one, Sean. Dicey.
Frost isn't the best Blink map, though. It's not the best, and we've seen Polt slap down Blink play yesterday, so I'm not too sure if if that will be the case. But this is a much, much better Terran map, a much, much better one. And this is, I would like to say, a definite must-win for Polt here.
Oh yeah, you can't go 2 games down.
On a more Terran-favored map, he definitely needs to pick up this win. To go 1-1 and then continue the series from that point, a lot cooler, a lot easier. But if he loses this, then you know the way that Protoss versus Terran is played recently. There's a lot of different types of all-ins that Terran needs to prepare for. If he needs to win 3 games back-to-back, then what happens if one of these all-ins creeps in and the game's over?
Yeah, the odds are just stacked against him from that point on.
Yeah, he needs to win on Frost.
All right, game number 2 now. We know the severity of the situation for Polt, so we get right on into it. Best of 5. Currently, 1 game down. Up to the top left-hand corner, our Red Terran even, representing CM Storm, it's Polt. And up to the top right, our blue Protoss, representing SK Telecom T1, it's Classic.
What do you think Classic does in this game? You think Blink again?
I think more macro focus. Not the. Maybe he'll open up with. Maybe he'll open up with Blink and then move the Stalkers to the front to make it look like he's going to do something aggressive, but realistically he's only using it for the defense to transition into the macro game. I think that
possibly,
might yeah. I've seen it quite a bit on this map.
All right, well, Polt, by the looks of it, it's going to take a gas here, so he's just going to open up Reaper play again. I like that he jumps on the Mothership core really early on in that last game. I think that's always... I mean, when you were able to kill the Mothership core, you, like I mentioned in the cast, is you only have to defend the natural. It makes playing against Blink obviously so much easier. And that's kind of, I suppose, what the future patch notes are looking to accomplish, is that you can't blink in as easily towards the main base and so on. But this map isn't going to be as easy for Classic to play off that similar style here. He may try, I think, just a more standard game here. He doesn't need to play aggressive at all.
Well, for now, we have Polt already opening up with the refinery, so he's going to get that Reaper out quickly and then have a look around and see what's going on. But again, on this map, generally you would see an SCV actually being sent out for the scout, and he is going to do that. Now, it's interesting to see where he's actually going to send this, because you do lose a lot of mine time if you send it the wrong way, especially in these spawning locations. He's going to do it. He's going to send it all the way down to the south, so that's going to take a while. He will send the Reaper over to the right-hand side, though, so that may be able to bring the SCV back a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Classic's opening up with a more standard opening here without taking the double gas. It looks like he's just going to cancel the Zealot and grab a faster expansion here. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to see a Twilight Council or Stargate, but at least a faster Nexus.
Yeah, and he's going to get away with it, considering the way which Polt is scouted. Sometimes we can see, especially Jackji, for example, use engineering bay blocks if he's able to scout out his opponent very quickly, and sometimes cancelling that Zealot leading on from there can be a treacherous thing.
The Mothership core's big credit to that here, as well as the second gas taking, just a very standard follow-up here. And the probe gets picked off in the center. He knows it's a Reaper build, but there's no way now that he can really find out unless he sends his Mothership core over there to see if it is going to be the factory or barracks follow-up. Good information and crucial information for a Protoss to pick up here. But overall, right now, he's only looking at keeping the Reaper out and keeping the Reaper away. And with the Stalker being added on after the gas, he's going to have to keep the Mothership core at home, otherwise he would lose probes.
Yeah, it certainly has to be well defended here. Noticeably, he actually didn't start a wall at any side of this mineral line, so it is allowing the Reaper to have a bit more freedom when it moves around there.
And he got a probe kill too.
Nice.
He's got 2 overall with the scouting one.
Very nice start.
And Classic is going to throw down a Stargate here. Right to the top left.
Uh-oh. I suppose it's a good location for it, considering how they've spawned. But again, the 3 barracks play comes from Polt, so he's going to have an abundance of Marines in locations to deter it.
But this isn't something that Polt is just going to scratch off, saying it's not possible for it to come. So he should be well aware of his personal timings here, knowing that he needs to have Marines in the mineral lines at the back until he knows for certain that it's not going to be an Oracle. Obviously, the Oracle could do so much damage if it was to be able to get there, and it would be just a mistake if he had units out of position.
Reaper not really finding any room to jump in. Classic being very mindful of that small ledge on the left-hand side of his base, which is the one opportunity aside from next to the natural there where you can jump in there. And he does defend his Stargate from being spotted for now.
And it's not crucial that he spots it here, Polt, as long as he has his units in position. And as long as the Oracle doesn't do much damage, I don't think, you know, Polt wouldn't be in the worst of positions. For now, he's got his units in position. He has 6 Marines inside the main base, a bunker down on the low ground too. And also, more importantly, he's got map control, seeing that there's no Stalkers rushing across the map. So it doesn't look like Blink play at all. It looks like it's either going to be a Stargate, DT, or just a regular opening in the Reaper. Sees guesses on the natural, but he knows he's going to die soon if he's not careful here.
Yeah, that was a full suicide run, but he did click on the forge at the end, so he knows his opponent's trying to transition on something.
But here comes the Oracle. Polt's still in position. It is going to be deflected by the looks of it, unless he moves away.
Instantly gets spotted by that supply depot up to the top right, and now I don't think he's going to be able to get too much done. It's going to be difficult. Didn't even get one CV. Can he get it on the way out? No, he doesn't.
No, not even that one there either.
These small micro decisions here from Polt. He doesn't want to linger. He gets one in the end.
Yeah. And on the natural, nothing. So that's a good defense there. And that wasn't really, he didn't see it coming. He just had his units in position, so smartly placed and positioned. But more importantly, he also saw the forge. So upon seeing, now that he knows the Stargate's obviously there through the Oracle, seeing the forge is down, he knows that it's just Stargate into normal play here. It could be the robotics facility, but through Classic and just looking at patterns and how he usually plays, it is Twilight Council for the majority of times here. Even though Polt isn't going to be able to say, all right, I'm playing against Twilight Council now, it is something that he will want to pick up soon, but can lean towards it.
Yeah.
Potentially being Twilight Council play.
I mean, what you're basically saying is that Reaper spotting that forge at the end, and, you know, with that, it gives him peace of mind right now to know that, you know, not a huge map's coming.
There are some builds where you can open up with an Oracle and actually end up keeping on building Oracles and even go into a gateway, timing with that. But from this position, he's fine. He's deflected it. He's moving across the map now for a bit of pressure onto his opponent, who does have a lot of units there, and double photon overcharge, who's more than fine here. That's a lot of units, though, that Polt has. His macros, not macros, sorry, his macros been pretty good.
Yep. That's the
and
power
a photon he may run past the photon overcharge here for the mineral line, but there are zealots and there are a couple of force fields here. If Polt overextends, then we could see him losing quite a lot of units here. Yeah. He does have stim.
I mean, for Classic, it's that extra sentry. I mean, he has 2 sentries out here that really cause a lot of problems, especially on a map like this, where it can be... There's not much room between the natural nexus and the sides of the map where you can move around in. So it creates small choke points for those 2 sentries alone to really control it.
And Polt scans. He didn't want to just stim in there in case he got caught with his units. And Classic was well prepared. If Polt stimmed in there, he force fields and then gets his Zealots and Archons in, or Archon in, and Polt would lose a lot. So great scan there.
Oh, and Classic's going to follow this up with Phoenix production as well. So this is going to put a timer on any medevacs that want to come around, especially drop play that Polt would be so avidly wanting to go for. That's the strength that we see of Polt, multi-pronged harassment. If you're shutting that down with things like Phoenix, this is a great little stepping stone here for Classic.
Absolutely. So far, been a very equal game here. What's happened a lot in Frost, actually, recently, even in this tournament, is we have seen Protoss players sneak a third base in. And just hide it in one of the corners, especially when playing at the top side of this map where both players are just concentrated on the top half. Polt's looking in the bottom corners just in case he was to be economically cheesed out, per se. But from this position he's looked to, there's nothing to be worried about there. But a big problem, if he commits to a drop, which is highly likely, these Phoenixes, there's 3 of them here, that haven't been, he has no idea about them, so...
It's a bit of a treacherous spot here for Polt. He's going to have to play very, very carefully. The Storm is now on the way. If Polt's looking to hit something before Storm, then he may just get brutalized. This is a strong position here for Classic right now. Army supplies 61 to 59, so very, very even, very close. And he actually goes straight for this. Those Zealots aren't working too well with the force field. Yes, he caught a few of the units, but then it doesn't allow him to continue chasing on too easily, as the Phoenix will now push away Medevacs, and he starts picking things up. So
yeah, this is very scary for Polt. He's losing a lot of army supply without dealing any damage here. The Phoenix is chasing the Medivacs down, so he's going to lose 2 Medivacs here. He's going to lose all his units, and Polt realizing that, oh god, at least his army is way out of position. Yeah. Imagine if he drops in the main base right now.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Seeing that those Phoenix are so far away gives him that opportunity. Classic, he's... How did he draw him all the way down to the bottom of the map? That's crazy.
Yeah, Polt's going to stim into the natural here. Storm is ready in 10 seconds. There's High Templar there, but...
So clever. Leads with the Marauders. Leading with the Marauders to try and catch those High Templar if they did have Storm. And, well, we'll have to pull back for a second there.
Yeah, there's still 2 base Protoss though. So, I mean, Polt would be happy on seeing it's still 2 base Protoss, but he's got to be careful about an attack. He's lost a lot of units already. If he was to lose these units to the Phoenixes and units coming back again, bear in mind there's only 1 Phoenix left, so he did lose 2.
And now Polt's just going to pull back for a little bit. He now has his 3 ghosts on the way. They're going to
Widow Mines too, because he doesn't know if there is detection or not. A Widow Mine or 2 in front of his 3rd base would protect it quite a lot.
It's fun where he's actually building those.
Yeah.
And he just gets this going right on out there very, very quickly. I suppose he would have liked to have, burrowed under the 3rd if he could have before it went down, but realistically that's difficult. There's already an observer there anyway.
And he's doing this really smartly here. He's up to a couple of ghosts. He's got his upgrades, going quite nicely. And Classic, who chased him all the way down there, had to come back to eventually deal with what Polt was doing. But Polt's buying himself a lot of time here to build up a very good army to take this on, take the fight head on.
But always, we see Polt just splitting up his army, just to look for opportunities where he can. That 1 Widow Mine will burrow, but Polt has to be a little bit scared of that army. That's a pretty strong force that Classic is showing in the middle, and he's certainly
time to bring the
stormed.
Ghostbusters in, Colaris, if Classic's going to go across the other side.
Who are you going to call, man? Those little fellas. They are pretty strong when it comes to dealing with that kind of army, but landing the correct EMPs is so important. If one of them is off, then he's not taking out the shields of the Zealots, which is important. He's not ripping out the energy from those High Templars, which is even more important.
And Classic's moving across here. He doesn't have a reinforcing pipeline. He's got to be close. A couple of EMPs would ruin his day here. And also, Polt still has quite a few units to the top. And, well, there's Prism, 2 High Templar inside.
And he's going to look to go on forwards. That actually protects those High Templars from the EMPs, as he will try and land one at the very front there. The Zealots all at the top majoritively, and a lot of those High Templars actually get hit by EMPs. But the Storms are able to rip through a lot of that bio, and Polt has to retreat out.
Polt standing there, he's like, yeah, I got Ghosts, it's fine, no problem. But then the Warp Prism comes in and still storms anyway. Classic just evades the entire use of Ghosts in that scenario and wins the fight.
And Polt feels like he's in a lot of trouble, so he's just going to try and go for the counter-attack with that small force that was positioned up to the north, which was going to be used for an assault anyway. Has to micro out of there as the High Templars providing him great defense.
And Polt, as mentioned, who hasn't lost a Terran versus Protoss in 2014, is now meeting his maker, because this is absolutely great play from Classic.
Yeah. I said that Polt had the shield of Captain America, but it's been buckled, man, and this is not looking good for him. If he goes down 2 games in this best of 5, Classic could actually just run him over. This is getting out of hand. Polt has to do something. He has to make something work.
Yeah. That was such a great fight.
Yeah, he's trying to make something work down to the bottom left. He's hidden that 3rd base away from his opponent, and then is going to keep him on the defensive. But how long can that last if Classic transitions onto the Robo facility and things like that?
And Polt has 4 medivacs full, aiming for the main base, where there aren't many units right now. The Phoenix just misses these units.
It's a bold move. It might work.
Yeah, there's a High Templar, though, with a Storm that's right there.
He spreads out these units, he should be okay. He sees the High Templar with these units as well. The Storm does hit and actually catches quite a lot of that bio, but the splits here as well mean the extra Storms don't do a whole lot to that bio in the end, they last.
And then units on the 3rd as well.
Oh, nice moves here by Polt. If anything's going to bring him back into this, it's certainly this move. Double-pronged assault, drawing the entire army up there. He might be able to get the 3rd Nexus. The Storm goes down, but it's not enough. He gets it. A brilliant, brilliant play here by Polt.
Wow, Polt finds himself back into this one, even though he was looking... Well, he was looking pretty bad a couple of minutes ago after that fight Classic took, but Polt is doing great here. He's got fantastic upgrades. Look, he's about to be 2-2. And then he's got +3 attack on the way. He's rebuilt his Ghost that he lost quite a few of earlier, and now he's just destroyed the 3rd base of Protoss. But like Rhett says, when the Protoss is in on 3 bases, you kill it, they go back down to 2. That's where they always win. But hopefully that curse remains against Zerg players, as Polt here looking absolutely great, stunting his opponent's economy. But again, we are going to see a very similar fight come out from Classic. He's got the Warp Prism loaded up with Templar again. There's Archons and Zealots everywhere. We need to see amazing EMPs.
Yeah, and importantly, +3 weapons for the Terran is not done against +3 armor. That is done here for Classic, so the Zealots are not going to die unless the EMPs land beautifully across them. And also, those Archons can get evaporated very quickly. So it really is all on the... He's got 5 Ghosts on the way at any given time, Sean.
And this 3rd base on the left-hand side, by the way, is for Polt, has actually really allowed him to keep in this game. I'm not sure if Classic has realized that. Well, I think he hasn't, because obviously he would have sent some units down there. I think we're going to see the next fight of the game.
I think so. Now Classic has spread himself out, but at the same time, Polt has a very, very good concave. The Storms up to the north really don't catch a huge amount of bio, but the Zealots will try and push on here. There's a few High Templars left in this Warp Prism, though. They move into the fray, try and drop Storms once again, but will it be enough to hold on? They're so close in terms of supply. Dead even. The micro back here from Polt once again, trying to hold on here in game number 2. He knows the severity of the situation, as he will be able to hold on against this Protoss force.
There's reinforcements, though. There's a Warp Prism, there's a couple of High Templar, there's a couple of Archons. It's not over yet. The Ghosts are all out of energy, too. This is incredibly close. +3 attack about to finish. That will help out.
Oh, this could be the hammer strike from Polt, though, if he goes into that third base. Reinforcements trying to warp in here for Classic, but he absolutely doesn't want to lose this third base, and it looks like he might actually. He's going to go straight for the probes. Just guaranteed damage. Nice Storm will hit first, but the second one is not able to kill off as much as he would like. Every single unit. That one Dark Templar, the hero of that defense.
Hero of that defense, but the game continues on. Polt's taking a supply lead, though. What a great game this one is. Really back and forth.
Yeah.
Really difficult to tell which one player is going to come out in the lead after the fights commence, and Polt has found himself back, if not with a little bit of a lead in this one now, as his +3 armor is on its way, about 40%, coming up to the halfway line. Couple of DTs though, and there isn't any detection at the north. Oh no, wait, there's a turret about to finish.
Perfect.
But they could get picked off. Oh, whoa. Medivacks.
At least he spotted them. But one thing is clear here, that Polt has kept his composure brilliantly throughout this game. He could have given up after he lost his third and lost that fight, but now he's continuing on. This one Dark Templar is going to get himself a few kills. That +3 armor, he's not going to die to those SCVs
yeah, he
too
got
quickly.
like 10 kills there on that third.
Yeah.
Luckily, Polt stopped the other one, going to the natural.
High Templars, man, you don't want to go anywhere near those as a medevac with some energy, and they will stay around up to that top for now.
And with Polt killing his opponent's third base, killing probes, he's really, stopped the main switch of Classic, because you can't stay on Templar forever. You need to start to look towards going up towards Colossus, and he just hasn't really had the money to do that and had the time to do it. And again, Polt finds himself in the mineral line.
Few Storms as well as feedbacks will push this away at the third. Meanwhile, that Oracle relaxedly came in and just threw a revelation on those, and it's like, I'm keeping an eye on you.
And it looked like a DT, by the way, has stopped mining on Polt's third base.
Nice.
And has had to evacuate the probes.
This is dead even, though. I mean, with those Dark Templars all shutting down the income there, this is so close right now. Classic's taking a slight supply advantage. That's marginally in the army by like 2 supply, but it could still go either way from here. So close.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the fight. The income is, relatively similar, with both players struggling for income at this point. And DT's all over. It's going to come down to eventually the Storms and the EMPs. Actually, these Medivacs could get Storm there. There's 2 High Templar.
Yeah, I could have done some damage to them. Maybe catch that one at the back, certainly. But
maybe he didn't want to waste the energy here, as he would be working to prepare for a fight soon enough.
Well, across the map, he's got 12 High Templars available to him. So some of those are defensive, yes, but some of them are probably at the natural to reinforce once his ones at the big front die. And we probably have some ones in Warp Prism as well. Yes, we do. We have 4 in that Warp Prism. And they've been accruing a lot of energy for a good portion of this game. So that's a scary position there for him.
Yeah, this is such a great game. I'm really enjoying this one. Dark Templar is actually going to get through the natural and into the main base of Polt. Just going to run past the supply depots there.
But it looks like Classic is posturing for a fight. He tries to drop some Storms on this, and actually he's going to go straight for it there. That's a lot of Zealots that he has to tank up all of this damage. Drops his can.
The EMPs!
Catches so many of those Archons as well during that. One of the Storms lands on the high ground, but it really doesn't do too much. But those Storms from the Warp Prism, able to rip through a lot of that bio. Classic just going to march on once again with those Zealots. Another great Storm catches the bio.
And Polt is dying here. Look at how many Zealots there are.
They just
and the
never
Warp
stop.
Prism just warping in after it stopped the Storms.
There's not a huge amount of money available to Classic right now, so he can't warp him fully, but he's just going to march on. The Zealots have not died. They continue to power on forth. And now these reinforcing bio is going to be all that stands between him.
There's a lot of reinforcing bio from the third, from the top, from the south here, just coming from different directions, and they're coming for this fight. And there's no Storms left.
It's important to congeal all that together and shut this down. If he can kill off those Zealots and those Archons, that's an expensive army.
If he stops this Protoss army, he's most likely going to be able to win the game.
Yeah.
When you compare the income between the both of them, it's much better for Polt. He's able to continue building.
And it looks like Classic, he's still pushing on, but he didn't really anticipate this bio force from the south joining up with their brethren to kill off this push from Classic, who is now vastly down in terms of supply. The army supply is 78 to 25, but I think Polt's done it.
He's got to just look at the army supply. I think that's going to tell the story of this game. 85-25. Polt holds on versus Classic's onslaught throughout this game. And now Classic, without any income from his main, from his natural, and running very low on his third base. He's trying to establish a fourth up, but he just simply doesn't have any money from this point. He scans on top of his army, looking for an observer, and this is where Polt's going to start to drive this one home. Claris, he's looking for the equalizer. He's played a fantastic game here, and has always seemed to be looking like he was on the ropes at many different stages throughout this game. And this is, I thought he was dead multiple times with these fights. It always looked like the Protoss was about to edge out. And what a great series this is. Game number 1, super aggressive from Classic, picks up the win, you know, kind of easily. But game number 2, Polt stands strong.
Also jet setter, he goes straight into the main to kill off the majority of this production, and then from there, what can Classic do? He's even hitting the 4th base as well. Classic knows, has to know now that this is done. Polt, with such an amazing defense throughout this entire game, was looking for the opportunity for the aggression. These Zealots are going to try and push him away in the main, but Polt can just be everywhere from this point
And look at the probe line just getting gutted.
Oh, bye-bye, little probes. You're cute, guys.
Absolutely gutted. Every single probe there was slaughtered, and Polt has found himself in a wonderful position. And on the map that he needed to win to really keep this series close and not let Classic start to run away with it. And Polt comes in. This is the last proper mining base that Classic has, and this is going to get picked off immediately. And that's it. Classic has no income. Polt, look at the left-hand side of the minimap. He's mining everywhere. He's dropping in the main base still. He's killed off even more probes. A fantastic game from CM Storm Polt. Absolutely amazing. This is top quality play.
Yeah, absolutely. He could have crumbled, but he didn't. He kept calm. He kept cool. And now we'll be able to tie up the series here. Classic is exhibiting fantasy style like GG timing now, as he really has very little left. But he knows how important these games are. So he plays out to the bitter end. And there you go. GG.
GG.
Wow. What a game. What a game.
Polt, who was kept away from a semi-final in the Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo, wasn't quite happy with the conditions, said in an interview yesterday or the day before when he played, said that conditions are great here, I'm feeling on top of my game, and that was a display of it. If we didn't see that display from him with Stardust and Mana yesterday, we saw it right there. Brilliant Terran play, and hopefully Polt's brought a couple of tissues for those Terran tears at this tournament, Claris, and is showing the way.
Dude, he brought a mop. He's mopping those up nicely. He's doing well for himself. He's showing the Terrans how to do it. But as was innovation yesterday as well, Jack G, we have 3 fantastic Terrans still available in this tournament.
Look at Classic. He just looks like a killer. He's just got this, you know, stone cold face. Is just. And then combining it with how he plays, this isn't going to be easy for Polt to continue the comeback here. I think he gave it his everything there, but did Classic give his everything there as well? Do you think that Classic still has gears to go through? I think so.
I think so as well, because let's look at that second game and say that he didn't actually make a single Colossus. So we still haven't seen that been mixed into the army here for Classic.
Imagine that. Imagine how well Classic just played with all those storm drops, the Warp Prison micro. His overall game was amazing. And then throw a Colossus switch in the middle. And the game just goes to another level. And that was a very high-tier quality game. That was a top-tier Terran vs. Protoss. We don't see that level that often. And there's still higher quality to go.
There is. Habitation Station will be our next map. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Classic, you know, open up for some kind of Templar-based tech once again, but then once he gets his economy fully up and running, then that Colossus switch could come. But Polt's world class. We've already mentioned this. We already just saw it actually in front of us. So he's always going to be keeping an eye on things. He keeps an eye on it, not only with, you know, available scans to him, but also the medevac drops and pressure are always a great scouting tool as well for this man.
And so far, Classic, who, you know, kind of, he played one series yesterday, which was close, which he lost against MC, but against Hero Marine, that was incredibly one-sided, and even against MC in the rematch, it seemed to be one-sided too. And overall, Classic is definitely a favorite to do well in this tournament, but Polt stands here in front of him on this playing stage, and just gave a performance like that. And I think that if Polt didn't do that, then it could have been a 3-0. Very easily could have been 3-0. But Polt, an amazing performance in game number 2.
All right, well, 1-1 apiece now. Polt ties it up as he keeps his hopes alive here in this best of 5. We move on to game number 3 as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, the man himself representing CM Storm. It's Polt. And up to the top left, our blue Protoss representing SK Telecom T1. It's Classic.
The Protoss machine. Very few weaknesses. And Polt just needs to play like he did. It's so funny to think about. What does Polt need to do? He needs to play the game of his life, just like he did in map number 2, and he needs to do it multiple times in a row.
Yeah, that's it's a tall order. Oh, geez. Well, we're going to find out here. Our observer tweeting us, you should be observing, Funker, all right?
Yeah, get off your phone.
Stick to observing, my friend.
That's some next level TVP right there between Polt and Classic. Indeed it was.
Yeah, and he saw it all firsthand, so well done.
He did.
Good observing, Funker. Good
so, Reaper opening once again here by Polt. Classic in game number 1. He opened up for the blink play if you missed game number 1 on Heavy Rain and was able to execute it quite well. And in game number 2, he played a much more standardized game. Just one gateway, one gas into an expansion, followed by the Stargate play, which didn't do anything, keep in mind. Only killed one SCV, and then followed it into his favorite style, the Templar Archives, and just played it out from there in a really, really good game. Let's see what's going to happen here on number 3, and who's going to get the momentum, who's going to take this map, because then they'd just be one match away from taking the series.
He's going to have a look around and see exactly what he needs to. He just sees that that reactor refinery is already down, and he knows that Reaper's probably going to be on the way from there. So he's actually, well, a little bit of a wall on the right-hand side, but not a huge amount. So he's not really denying too much maneuverability from that Reaper. But on this map in general, I really do feel that the Reaper's less so for getting in there and more so for being able to control the map.
Yeah.
There's not really much room to jump in on this map, unfortunately.
No, it's only got the natural if you can swing around somewhere. A little bit easier to defend.
Yeah.
Do you think, and knowing that Classic played Terran for years in Brood War, even played Terran in StarCraft 2, do you think when he beats Terran players, he's like, I'm so sorry I had to do that?
Probably.
Or do you think he's like, get out of this game? Do you think he's like completely gone to the dark side, considering he used to be a Terran?
That could be interpreted a few ways, but yeah, I think...
You think he's gone to the dark side, or he still has his humanity intact?
No, I think he's on the dark side. I'm going to have to say that.
I think so too. If you said he's still got his humanity, I'm like, I think that was lost years ago, man.
I think that is a lie.
Classic's a killer.
He is. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care, man.
All right, well, expansion's on the way for Polt. And once again, second barracks. Where is our third one? SCV gets sent out to do that. So it's always 3 barracks play here from Polt. And it normally keeps him well defended, normally gives him opportunities to be aggressive as well. But on this map, as a Protoss player, I feel it's harder to pressure with 3 barracks early. The ramp, your natural, if you do have 2 sentries like we saw from Classic before, can split that army up very nicely. Along with Photon Overcharge, makes it hard for Polt to really pressure with 3 barracks.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to really pressure properly with 3 barracks here, especially if the Protoss sees it and can expect it to come. You just get just the right amount of units to defend, and then if you defend it, you're in great shape. And the game continues on. The Stargate has been thrown down once again here by Classic, and with the Reaper being eliminated quite earlier on, he's got no chance to spot this unless he scans. But did he need to spot it in the last game? It's not so much the spotting of the Stargate, it's that he can't really go through the process of elimination of what could be coming his way, because it really could be anything. Blink play is pretty much out the question on this map, because it just doesn't work. It's not a very good map for it here. So it either is going to be just a regular play from Classic. It still could be something crazy. It's, you know, what happened to the 3 Nexus builds and stuff? They're still viable, so it still could be virtually anything. But the Oracle has been made here, and there...
Oh my.
That's...
I would repeat it.
Anything is possible. You see that?
Just keep going, man. Just keep going.
Anything is possible here, so he really has to go through and try to get as much information as possible, but he's moving through the middle of the map. There is an Oracle, and it's... shouldn't reveal itself. I was going to say, you shouldn't really show you've got the Oracle. And it did just get outside of the Xelnaga vision. There are Marines there, but this movement out by Polt, the thing is he might not even know about the... Are you really going to check the gold base now? No, you're not.
Exactly. Classic is really taking it to Polt here. He tries to dive in with the Oracle, but doesn't really get too much done. Wait a minute. Ooh,
if he goes up there, then he is a god.
Yeah.
So he's going to poke up here. The Photon Overcharge should be activated, I assume, and then he just should push back.
Yeah, that's not too much army there.
If he checks the gold base, I'm going to lose my mind.
As the Photon Overcharge will push this away. 1 Marine, 2 Marines do fall. And then from there, Polt's just going to head on home, I think. There's not really a whole lot you can do. You're right, though. If he checks that gold base, it would be absolutely great.
He's been distracted by the Oracle, and he wouldn't even be thinking like that. If he had free time and was just like, StarCraft, here I play. I'm in the quarterfinals. Like, if he had free time to think like this, then maybe... there's the off chance, but with the Oracle distracted him and keeping his thoughts elsewhere, then it's not going to be the case.
But this is where Polt's attention to detail has to be... Wait a minute, his third base is quicker.
Yeah, his third base is really fast here.
Yeah.
And let me just check something. Let me click Polt. He's assuming from the...
Oh, cheeky.
You see some probes.
He does. And now that gives him, well... Yeah, of course. But presses on forwards, and, well, that's not really the biggest of armies either here.
Yeah, and he lost the units there. I'm pretty sure Polt was assuming that he was going to go up against Templar play again here, and not a major 2-base all-in, I'd imagine. He doesn't know that for certain, but he just took the third base because the way Classic played in the last game was very passive, played it back on 2 bases for quite a long time here. Sean,
could he go for, like, a 3-base blink play? Because, I mean, he's adding on 4 gateways right now. And
he's going to go up to 8 gateways. It's definitely possible. His probe count doesn't need to be super high. He's got the gold bases. Yeah. It's a massive, massive part of his income here. And, so yes, he could.
Yes, he could.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
It's 8 gateways here. He hasn't got the Templar Archive, so yeah, it's just going to be a lot of units. A lot of units.
This is going to be interesting if he can make it work. There are a few chokes on a habitation station that are a bit harder to really engage in as a Protoss, but that can also be said as same for the Terran here, as he's going to try and go for drop play, dropping the couple of units that were revealed there, and he goes straight into that goal base. Photon Overcharge is activated, but now still he will be able to push this on back.
Yeah, this is scary for Polt. Especially because the sheer amount of units that are going to come out here by Classic. He's not ahead in army supply, but he will be very soon. That warping will push him in the lead, and it will just continue to grow there. Oh, okay, so not quite.
I mean, the one good thing for Polt during all of this is that because his third was quick, his extra 2 barracks behind that were a little bit quicker than normal after you take a third. So he will have a lot of units himself, but Classic could just, like, hit him really, really hard with this kind of army.
Absolutely. I mean, Blink's going to punish any movement out here that Polt isn't clear to win. Yeah. He gets punished massively.
And this might be one of those movements out here. Polt's doing some damage,
but he can blink forward here.
Exactly. Classic with the force fields was doing very nicely for himself, and then it's up to the Blink to really hold on strong. And Polt now is losing a lot of army, a substantial portion of army. Classic takes a lead in that, and just in general in the supply.
And look at this fight. Every time that Polt has to go back, he can blink forward and pick off units here. This is very, very dangerous. And the thing is, I think Polt's now has kind of established what's going on, but it is hard to identify that. And with one movement wrong, you lose a lot there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the style isn't that strong in... it's just gateway units, remember. So the bigger of an army Polt has, the better he'll be able to deal with things. But there we do have a second Forge and a Templar Archives coming in.
It's the transitionary methods, but they come pretty late here. Classic is relying on his micro alone in these middle game to really hold on strong against this. He's trading all right. He actually blinks forwards into this with those Zealots in tandem pushing on forwards, and he kills off a lot of this Bioforce.
Yeah, Polt's just now adding on 3 extra barracks. He really needs this extra production.
Blinks forwards once again, kills a Marauder, and the Zealots now have charge. That's a big difference maker here as Polt tries to move on backwards against this, but this gateway push from Classic with the transition on behind it as well is so strong against the position that we now find Polt in. He blinks away from the majority of the units that were reinforcing onto the ones that had retreated from all of this, and he's, well, in the end, Polt holds on strong.
Had to use a couple of SCVs to buffer, though, to help out a little bit there. And 2 Zealots only are going to be thrown into the mix for some harassment. I really think Classic's style here, by the way, thinking about it a little bit more, I haven't really seen this for a very, very long time. He never knew about the fast third base or when the third base was going to be taken at all. And with the gold base being exposed so early, he just needed a lot of units to defend. Imagine if Polt had gone 2 base, 5 barracks, and was putting pressure on everywhere. That high amount of gateway count is going to be able to keep him safe with Blink, with Zealot Charge. He didn't want to tech up too fast and just use his economy to be able to produce a lot of units. I think that was his overall goal here. But now, obviously, it did turn into a bit of an aggressive stance when he saw the opportunity to do so. But now he's using that economy greatly. Double Forge. We have Storm on the way. And this is a good setup here. But look at this. This is weird. Double drops are going to pass each other.
Oh, well, that's certainly going to be a bit awkward for them both. But now at least one another knows that there's going on. So maybe they'll be able to just deflect it on both sides, and that'll be all okay.
Feedback's not really that useful here.
Don't go, Paul. He's going to go anyway.
Yeah, this is okay to do so.
Yeah, especially since it's only Zealots and High Templars that don't have Storm, so they don't really do a great deal and a good effect against bio units positioned between buildings that is causing Classic
and even on
to be
the natural too.
Oh, nice poke count. Actually got a few workers for his troubles there. So
great move. Great move. Brought his opponent's worker count down below his own.
War Prism isn't doing anything either.
And where's the Ghost Academy?
I don't think he got it, did he?
No, not yet.
No.
But he's seen the Temper Archives, he's seen the Archons and stuff. I'd be surprised if he didn't play with Ghosts.
Yeah, that's what it looks like he, for now, I'm very intrigued to see what he's going to do here. He's also positioning a few more command centers around. There's that pylon down to the bottom right that's going to warp in harassing
there's the
Zealots.
Ghost Academy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm very surprised, especially against how strong Classic is with that style. You almost need you do need the Ghosts.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to really contest with it any other way. Just plenty of bio on the way. He's pushing those Zealots from the harassment where he can.
Big Warp Prism inside the main base too.
Ooh, nice. That's quite a lot of Zealots actually. Plus 3 armor's about to finish for them, so if they linger for a little bit longer, they're going to be very, very hard to dispatch of. Yeah, but he's well on top of it, so all is good.
So this game's still kind of equal between both players, and once again, it may just come down to the overall fights here. Polt very smartly cleaned up inside his main base, but even better, is going to destroy his opponent's 4th base there.
That's
just
good.
all over the place.
On Vikings a little bit more preemptively compared to last game.
Yeah.
He didn't see the Robo facility, but he's just anticipating that, that's something that Classic can throw in compared to what he did last game. So that's nice from Polt as a good defense measure.
The Ghosts aren't out though yet, and they're going to play a massive part in this fight. There's so many Zealots, they have plus 3 armor, there's a lot of Archons and High Templar, and he's yet to bring any Ghosts into the game, which means, yes, it's kind of equal between the both of them, but without Ghosts, it's going to be difficult to take this fight, which I think that Classic is going to go for very, very shortly. As you can see, he's getting ready to move across the map. He's still on these 3 bases.
It's a strong army, but at the same time, a lot of it's Zealots.
Yeah,
so
there's a Planetary Fortress.
Yeah. It kind of bottles this up and it makes it hard to engage into.
Yeah.
And as well as he sees the army movement with the sensor tower too, so this is a brilliant placement for it. But he knows now, and he's actually just going to push on forwards anyway. This bio is split up brilliantly, and it's doing quite a bit of damage against those Zealots. The Storms do hit, but the majority of the bio at the beginning doesn't really linger in it. But the Storms just keep coming. They never stop. Classic. Powering on, but the bio is still alive at the back. The longevity of it keeps on coming. It keeps on powering through. The Archons, though, are able to do the damage.
He needed Ghosts.
Yeah. He just didn't... Why didn't he have them?
Well, he wasn't quite ready for it. He was still harassing all over the place. I suppose he could have and should have switched earlier, for sure.
I mean, technically, you got the 4th base over on the left-hand side, but it really doesn't matter when you've got that many Archons just sat at your doorstep. And what are you going to do?
This is going to be hard to hold on here for Polt.
He will be able to clean this up in the very end, but he's taking a lot of damage, and also the Zealots, they could go to town on that 3rd base as well, and then Polt would lose a significant amount of his income. This is really, really catastrophic now.
Yeah, it was always going to be difficult in the fight there. Without Ghosts, he just needed them. It was that simple. And Classic's pushing him all the way back up to his natural, which means the 3rd base is now being cleared up, and Polt is going to defend from the higher ground. But it's now 4 Protoss bases, or as the 4th is coming in, and the income difference between the both of them just means that Classic is going to start to climb up and up and up when it comes to his army supply. Polt does have 3-3 on the way. He's not really squeezing out any Ghosts still. It's still just Marauder Zealots.
Lift up and run away.
I mean, Marauder Marines.
He has to keep that alive to be able to establish it later. He can't afford to make another command center. I guess technically he could fly his main away to another location, but he absolutely has to hold on. Nice Storm. Actually catches all those SCVs while they were transitioning on as well.
Yeah, there's another Storm there.
Extra damage. Those Zealots just pushing on this bio back as they kite out, but they're slowly getting themselves pinned in. Where are the Storms? There they are. Catches a lot of that bio, and the Zealots just continue to try and power on through as we do still... this keeps happening. We're back in. And a big warping from this warp prism as well. There's the Zealots. Just realistically, they have shut everything down here for Polt. GG. Classic takes the 2-1 lead.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he is looking dominant today.
Yeah.
Even in the game he lost versus Polt, he's looking great. He's absolutely playing out of his mind at the moment. This is a great series, and as mentioned, even though we talked about Polt, who has gone undefeated so far this year against Protoss players, and good Protoss players too, likewise, Classic hasn't lost either. He's beat some great players, Ryung and Gumiho, twice that is, in his GSL. And that was Code, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. But a great display there from Classic. I just think Polt, as mentioned throughout the cast, was missing ghosts. He was missing Ghost, his composition. Imagine if the Zealots and stuff were walking down those ramps and they were getting EMP'd.
Yeah, and I mean, with the speed of the third command center that was down and the speed of the gases that were there as well, it was especially late with the economy that he had set up. So that was a bit of an odd one there.
Yeah.
It really felt as if his whole mind was dead set on the harassment and nothing else. Which unfortunately came back to bite him there. That was tough, and now map number 4 is going to be Yonsu. Classic is at match point.
Match point, and a great map to go on to as well. This is a favoured map here for Protoss players going into this. Polt now needs to win 2 games back-to-back against a player who's looking absolutely fantastic here at the Intel Extreme Masters, looking to move on to the semi-finals. This is, of course, the quarterfinals, and things are heating up.
They certainly are, guys. So we're just going to take a small break, and then when we're back, we are going to have game number 4 between Polt and Classic.